All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. And with us, as always, is Tarrant Lanier with Victory Teaching Farm. Good morning, Tarrant.
Good morning.
And I hope everyone is being weather aware today because we've got a couple of storms out there, and hopefully they're going to, miss us and not be bad for the people that they do go through. But we are going to be talking about, as the summer comes to the end, Tarrant and I were just talking about getting kids back off to school. And I know we're all hoping for cooler weather soon. But we are going to be talking about preserving summer. So this is really exciting because you work so hard in your garden, all year long, and you've hopefully got some good bounty of vegetables. And so now we're going to talk a little bit, and Tarrant's going to share some awesome recipes with us on how to preserve those summer vegetables. So first, Tarrant, if you can go over with us, and please, folks, while we're going through this, please feel free to ask any questions in the comments. We'll try to get to all of them before the end of the show. But Tarrant, before we get started on all of that, can you tell us a little bit about some canning safety?
Yeah, so, anytime you're preserving food, you've got a lot of things that you need to think about because you want to make sure that there's no bacteria, that there's no spoilage. And so there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration when you get ready to start doing canning. So selecting the right canner. Whether you want to do pressure canning or if you want to can in a canning pot. It really depends on, what your preference is, what you're most comfortable with. And so this graphic just kind of gives some information on what you need to do as far as making sure that your canners are clean, there's no debris, there's nothing that can possibly spoil your food. Certain vegetables and things require the use of a pressure canner for safety reasons. And then, there's things to avoid, like using boiling water for low acid foods. It doesn't protect against that spoilage, which is the botulism poisoning. So, those are some of the first things that you can, look at. Up-to-date canning instructions and things like that. So, you may have your great grandmother's recipe for, canning tomatoes or so forth. You want to make sure that you are kind of up to date on preserving and the information, related to that. This particular graphic is the Food and Drug Administration. So that's a good place to get information on canning and things like that. But you can always search the internet and come up with tons of different sites. But the reason why I chose this one is because it is, the FDA, and you're for sure to know that, this information is up to date and completely and totally safe. Home canned food can be contaminated even if it looks, smells, or tastes normal. You never want to taste it to make sure that it's still safe because, again, it can taste normal. You want to inspect anything thoroughly before eating home canned food. If anything's leaking, bulging, or swollen, if the container is damaged, cracked, or abnormal, liquid and foam spurting out when you open it is a definite sign of botulism. And if the food is just discolored, moldy, or smells bad, obviously, when in doubt, throw it out. You're better off losing, that as opposed to putting yourself or your family in danger. And so botulism is definitely a medical emergency, just as so many different other kinds of foodborne illnesses. And some of these particular symptoms you may have if you've eaten something that's, not good. Double vision, blurred vision, drooping eyelids, slurred speech, difficulty swallowing, dry mouth, muscle weakness. Of course, these are also symptoms of so many other potential health issues. So anytime you have any of these, whether you've just eaten a jar out of the pantry, or whether you have these particular, issues, you always want to seek medical attention immediately.
Absolutely. Such good information to have. And I have put in the comments section on both YouTube and Facebook the some publications. The publication that we referred to, where was it? Let's see. Nope. Here it is, the Department of Agriculture's Complete Guide to Home Canning. So I have that up there, and it's in the comments section, so you can just go to that really quickly. And folks, after we do this show, I will put these guidelines and the recipes into the comments section, so you can have them all. All right, so now that we've gotten the safety out of the way, we all know what we need to do. We are going to talk about what supplies you need. So what do you need, Tarrant?
So definitely jars. Mason jars are ideal for home canning, whether you are canning in a pressure cooker or water bath canning, or some of the more simple canning techniques, which is what we're going to kind of talk about today. So you definitely want to have your clean, sterilized jars and lids. So you get those brand new, you want to throw them in the dishwasher on your sterile cycle, or soap and hot water, but you definitely want them sterilized before you use them. So you've got your jars, your rings, your lids. If you're going to can, if you like water bath canning, your pot or something comparable, or you may have a pressure canner that you already use. Jar funnels are ideal and make it so much more simple. Keep your jars much cleaner when you're packing those jars with your preserves. A jar lifter, if you are water bath canning, is something you definitely need to have. And then some of the other things that we're going to talk about is preserving food by freezing it. So you definitely need those freezer bags.
Excellent. So the next subject we're going to talk about are the five type, or the five. Where did I get five from? The types of preservations. So this is slide number 5. Sorry, folks, it's a Monday.
Yeah.
But so tell us about the types of preservations, Tarrant.
So the two that we're going to talk about today, because there's obviously other ways to preserve your food, but just to keep it simple this morning, we're just going to talk about simple canning, which doesn't require a pressure canner or water bath canning, and freezing. So those are the two things we're going to kind of talk about today, and that's the recipes that we have is related to these two particular types of preserving your food.
Excellent. And that is right. We are getting to the recipes. So folks, these are long. Tarrant's going to just kind of go through the process of it, but just remember that we are going to post these recipe slides in the comment section right after the show. So don't worry if you miss it. And if you see anything or have a question, don't hesitate to ask it in the comments. So Tarrant, let's get started. We're going to start with our good old pickles.
Yes. So I actually did this for the first time this past summer, and they turned out fantastic. So, at the end of the season, it seems like all of a sudden all your cucumbers just start coming on all at the same time. And you can use large cucumbers, or there's another variety that is actually a pickling cucumber, but you can use any type of cucumber. So basically you're just going to gather your cucumbers, as many as you have, gather your clean sterilized jars, and then you're going to make what's called a brine. So get your pickles or your cucumbers chopped up. You can slice them in slices like you would, just long slices, or you can cut them in little rounds. It's whatever your preference is to how you like your pickles. You got your little round pickles that you would put on hamburgers, or your long spears. It's however you want to do it. So it's totally up to you, but you're going to get them all chopped up and ready, and then you're going to make with a simple brine. So we've got the measurements here, and I believe this will make 1 quart mason jar. So you've got water, you've got vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar, you can use plain old white vinegar, or you can use rice vinegar. Again, that's a personal preference. You've got your sugar, your sea salt, red pepper flakes. I want to make a comment too on sugar. There's sugar in a lot of these recipes, and these particular recipes are on using just regular old sugar. They are not with any kind of alternative sugar products or stevia or, sweet and low or anything like that. This is just good old sugar. So if you decide that you don't want good old sugar, you probably want to research and look for another recipe that uses something different as opposed to doing a substitution. But back to ingredients, pepper flakes, that's optional if you want them to be kind of spicy, or you can leave that out. Pepper, fresh dill, garlic, and a bay leaf. And so, like I said, you're just going to get your sliced cucumbers, pack them into that jar, and make sure you whisk your brine up completely, totally, until all
Looks like we have a little tech issue. So if Tarrant can hear me, there she is. Oh, okay. Sorry, you froze for just a second. So
okay.
I'm sorry. Go back to, I think you were talking about slicing the cucumbers. We were into the process now.
Oh, yeah. So your cucumbers are already, you've already sliced your cucumbers. You've made your simple brine. And so you're just going to pack your cucumbers down into your jar, cover them with the brine liquid, make sure they're covered completely. Put your lids on the jar, shake them up, stick them in the fridge, and then in about 2 to 3 days, you can check them for desired pickling, and they'll actually last a couple of months in the fridge. So
awesome. That sounds great. And there's really no like heating or anything involved with this. So that's a good one to start with. Let's see. We've got just a couple of folks saying hi. We have Shirley Linton Allen saying hello. Hello, Shirley.
Hello, Shirley.
And we have Tawana Wright saying hello. Hello, Tawana. Good morning.
Good morning, Tawana.
And all right, so moving on, we're going to be talking about, this is kind of, I think one of my favorites is, and this one's pretty easy too, is the pepper sauce. So Tarrant, tell us about pepper sauce.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites too. It's something I remember my grandmother always doing every year. She would grow on her little front porch of her condo in 5-gallon buckets all kinds of different hot peppers, jalapenos, cayenne, chili peppers, and then she'd make pepper sauce. I think this might be a Southern thing, but maybe not. Pepper sauce, we like to put it on black eyed peas and greens and things like that, just to spice them up. But this is really simple and easy, just like all the others. You're just going to gather your peppers, as many as you have. This particular recipe is using about 30 small peppers. And it's whatever kind of peppers you want. Any of the hot peppers, jalapenos, chili, habanero, cayenne. It's whatever you have that you've planted in your garden. You can use one kind, or you can combine multiple different kinds of peppers. And so again, it's just a simple vinegar, sugar, kosher or pickling salt. Either will work the same. Adding just a little bit of olive oil will make it extra hot. So you don't necessarily have to do that. That is optional. And then your peppers. Again, we're always starting with clean, sterilized jars and lids. You want them to be warm, because this particular recipe, you're going to fill these jars with hot liquid that you've cooked on the stove. So you want to make sure your jars are warm, because you don't want to put warm liquid into a cold jar because it's going to crack. So make sure your jars are warm. And you're basically just going to mix all of.
And it looks like Tarrant froze up again. Sorry, folks, but until she unfreezes, or if she can jump in and jump back out. Oh, can you hear me, Tarrant?
I can. I've not.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It froze up again. So if you want to just start from remove the air bubbles, that would be great.
Okay, yeah. So once you've poured your mixture over your peppers that you've already packed in your jars, you can take you want to remove the air bubbles. And so you can just kind of tilt the jar slightly, and it'll allow the bubbles to escape. You can also take a spoon or a butter knife and just kind of stick it down in there and just kind of push the peppers up against the side of the jar, and that will help release those air bubbles as well. So really the same thing, just like you did with your pickles. You're just going to put your lid back on, tighten it up, let it sit and cool on a countertop, and then you want to make sure that it's sealed. It will seal. You can hear the can sealing because they'll make a pop noise. But if you don't hear that, you can just lightly press the top of the center of the lid. And if it doesn't pop back at you, then it is properly sealed. And you can store them in the pantry for up to a year. If they did not seal correctly, that's not a problem either. They just won't last, that long in a pantry. You just put them in the refrigerator and, use them over the next month or so. Did I lose you, Dorothy?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm here. I had it on mute. I apologize. So I didn't want to hear anybody. I didn't want anybody hearing me sniffle in the background. But next we have pickled jalapenos, and tell us about these, Tarrant.
Okay, so if you like jalapenos, this is something that we typically purchase from the grocery store. But if you grew jalapenos over the summer, and if you are a jalapeno grower, you know that they produce abundantly. And so get your jalapenos gathered and slice them up in the little round slices like you normally would buy in the grocery store, or you can keep them whole as well. It's, again, a personal preference on how you want to do that. You do want to cut off the stem, though. But again, you're just going to make kind of a mixture. You're going to combine your vinegar, your water, your garlic, your sugar. If you want less hot jalapenos, you could actually add a little bit more sugar than what's in the recipe. But you're just going to add everything together, put it in a pot, bring it to a boil, throw your jalapenos in there, and then remove it from the heat. Let it sit for a bit. Then you're going to take your jalapenos out, put them in your jars. Then you're going to pour that liquid over the top and seal them up and stick them in the fridge, and they're good for up to about 2 months.
Awesome. And just a note, because I think we talked about jalapenos and working with peppers before, but is this where you maybe want to use some gloves so you don't rub your eyes and have a really bad day afterwards?
Yes. So definitely you want to wear gloves when working with jalapenos because the oils in them, and even after you wash your hands, if you weren't wearing gloves, even after you wash your hands, those oils can still be in your skin. And if you've ever touched a jalapeno and then touched your eye, your nose, your mouth, it is not a pleasant experience. So you definitely want to make sure you wear those gloves. And some people have reactions, so it may not bother you per se to cut up a jalapeno without using gloves. Again, those oils can stay on your skin even after you've washed your hands. But I knew someone actually who chopped lots of jalapenos. They were pickling jalapenos and they didn't use gloves, and it burned their hands. Like they literally had red marks all over their hands from the jalapeno. So yeah, this is one that you want to make sure that you're being safe, just to avoid the sting of a jalapeno.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And so I said that the pepper sauce was my favorite, but I don't know. The next one up, these candied jalapenos might be my favorite. It's a tough one. But tell us about these, Tarrant.
Yeah. So so these are really, really good over like a block of cream cheese or something like that for like an appetizer, or you can throw them in a salad. But they're so good. They're exactly what they are, like a candied jalapeno. And so for this one, and they're not as spicy. So you know how when we talked about pickling the jalapenos, if you wanted to increase the sugar, it will reduce the heat. So this uses a lot of sugar. So these are not super spicy. They're more sweet and peppery than anything. So just simple. Again, you've got your vinegar, and you can use apple cider. You can use regular white vinegar. You can use rice vinegar. Again, it's a personal preference. But you got all that sugar in there. And like I mentioned, these recipes are using just regular white sugar. So if you're looking to use something other than that, an alternative sugar product, you probably would be better off looking for a recipe that had that and not substitute for this one. But garlic powder, turmeric, which is very, very good for you, and celery seed. And so those are the simple ingredients that you use to make the candied jalapenos. And so this is kind of the same process as the other, somewhat with the pickling jalapenos. So you're just going to add everything into the pot. And bring it to a boil. And then if you'll see, it's kind of a process here. So you're going to reduce heat and simmer. Then you're going to bring it back up to a boil. Then you're going to add your peppers, let it boil a little bit longer. And then same process as before, you're going to take your peppers out separately and put those in your jars first, and then pour your syrup over the top. Release your air pockets, and we talked about how you could do that. I always just use a butter knife because I can kind of push everything around, and it seems to be the best way to get rid of those air pockets. And just fill the jars, refrigerate for 1 to 2 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks for optimal flavor, and they're good for several months if you keep them refrigerated.
Awesome. Sounds delicious. And let's see, we've got a couple of more comments here. Bill Hawkins says this sounds great, and it sure does, doesn't it? And then let's see, Candy Williams says, hi, y'all. Well,
Hi,
hello, Candy. So thanks for tuning in with us, folks. All right, so next we're going to be talking about salsa. This is another good one.
This is. So you may have all of the ingredients in your garden, and you may have to purchase some, but I think most all of us, if we've grown tomatoes, we've got some tomatoes that are coming on in that we need to pick before they go bad. So you're just going to get your tomatoes and chop them up however, whatever size you want. You can peel your tomatoes first, or you don't have to, personal preference again. Diced green chilies, green onion, you may have that in your garden. You may have parsley in your garden. Cilantro is more of a cool weather, so you probably don't have that. A lot of us down here in South Alabama have lemon trees, lemons, limes, black pepper, your garlic, salt to taste. And this is one of my favorites because it's super easy and it's, basically ready immediately. Or you can, store it in your refrigerator for about a week. But you're just going to chop up your tomatoes, save all of the juice. So if you're chopping on a cutting board, you want to make sure, if you don't have a cutting board that kind of has those reserve indentions around the edges to catch the juice, you want to somehow make sure that you're able to save the juice because you're going to need that. But you're just going to combine everything all together, stir it up really good. You can eat it immediately, or you can cover and chill it. And you just want to keep it stored in a covered container in your refrigerator, and it's good for about a week.
Awesome. Sounds delicious. And then this is actually something that I've done before. And this is just freezing things, and it's pretty easy peasy.
Oh, yeah. So I chose peppers and onions just because those are, some summer veggies that are pretty popular. I think a lot of people use peppers and onions on a regular basis in, their day-to-day meals and cooking. And so you don't have to blanch. A lot of people think that if you're going to freeze certain vegetables that you have to blanch them first, which is kind of like a quick dip in hot water and then pulled right back out. But with peppers and onions, you don't have to do that. And so, and we actually froze multiple bags of peppers and onions, and we froze some bags just with peppers, some bags just with onions, and then we had some that were a mixture of peppers and onions. I chopped them up real fine, like to add to spaghetti or something like that, and I chopped some up like long ways, like if you were going to make fajitas or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing. You're just going to rinse them, chop them how you want them, put them in your freezer bag, stick them in the freezer, and they should be good for about a year.
Excellent. Excellent. And then to kind of finalize some things, we've got some pictures of tomatoes that you have preserved. And this just looks like a lot of work.
It takes about a day.
Yeah.
And I did not go into depth about canning tomatoes.
Mhm.
I did do the salsa. But just because, like we talked in the very beginning, canning tomatoes this way requires a water bath, requires
Mhm.
you boiling your jars or using a pressure cooker. But every year, my family and I, we stop at a U-Pick farm on the way to my mother-in-law's in the country, and it's so much fun. And we pick and pick and pick and pick. And so this is probably about five-gallon buckets full of Roma tomatoes.
Wow.
So and the process is pretty intense. You've got to flash boil the tomatoes so you can then core them and peel them with ease. You have to have your lemon and your salt ready in your jars. And then you pack your tomatoes in and pour the juice over the top. And then you close them up. But then that's when you do the water bath. And you've got to boil them for 45 minutes to an hour and then remove them and then let them seal. But I figured I'd at least show. I wanted to do some how-to videos, but I figured I'd at least show that I'm giving you all these recipes, and these are things that I actually do. So, and it is so worth it. It is so worth it to preserve because, you think, oh, well, we would love to have, spaghetti tonight. Well, you know what? You've already got your peppers and your onions frozen in the refrigerator. You've already got your jar of tomatoes ready to go. So it's really nice to have, to have these foods preserved and put away. Saves you a trip to the grocery store, and also it's very economical. So we probably about $50 is what we spend when we go to this U-Pick farm. And we also get peppers and onions and things like that as well, but alongside the tomatoes. But with your supplies and everything, you're probably, $75, and you've probably got hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of food put away and preserved. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
You grow it yourself, and then you preserve it, and you've saved a lot of money, especially if you're growing it yourself and you've grown from seed. You might have $5 and $500 worth of food.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. I think that's amazing. And like you said, the tomatoes and some others do take a little more. So, go to in the comments. One of the first comments I put up there was a website that directs you to some good education on canning and more of the other deeper processes of canning. So be sure to reference those, guys. Do your research to make sure that you are safe when you do this. But it's really exciting. And the recipes that Tarrant has shared with us are really easy to do. So, those are a great place to start if you're just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really nice because these are, I'm very easily intimidated, but it's like for these, like the pickles, it's like, hey, I could do that. Or the salsa, it's like, okay, I can delve into this a little bit. So Tarrant, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. And folks, we are going to be back. We're going to be changing our day and the day of the month that we're going to be doing this. We're going to start on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. So we'll see you back here on September 1st at 10 a.m. with another episode of What's Going On. And again, Tarrant, as always, thank you so much. I'm going to throw her email up here real quick. So if anybody has any questions, you feel free to reach out to her. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to put the recipes in the comment section of the Facebook page. So y'all keep an eye out for that. And until next time, stay tuned for a real quick video of what's going on this week. And Tarrant, thanks so much. We'll see you on September 1st.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.